Hello and welcome back to the CFCTALK podcast. I'm your host, Mohammad Soleja, and welcome to another episode. I think this is episode 53, if I've figured out how to number them properly. I think Amart pointed them out last time as well. Tonight we're going to be, there's a lot on to discuss tonight, and before we do that, I want to introduce our guests. I don't think we've had a lot of guests the last few weeks, and that's purely because the games have been coming thick and fast, and we haven't had the time to contact any guests, but tonight we're joined by one of the best Twitter thread writers out there. He'll make sure you feel nostalgic once you read his threads in about either whether they're about the UCL final or Frank Lampard's first game for Chelsea. Akash, who is also a very experienced writer, and he writes for various multiple platforms. Akash, thank you for coming on the podcast. It's great to have you on. How are you feeling?
Hey Mo, that intro was too kind, bro. So thank you for having me on, and yeah, thank you, Amart. I feel very flattered. I've never heard myself described in such terms, so that felt great. Thank you so much for having me on. Anyway,
I think you do deserve this. I think honestly, your work is so underrated on Twitter and on any platform you actually write on, whether it's I think the Chelsea Chelsea social or even our website. Your work is quite underrated, and I must say, it's incredible to have you on. And I'd like to thank you for joining us at 3 a.m. at India. It takes a lot to sit here and talk about Chelsea at 3 a.m. So yeah, thank you for that.
I'll probably return the compliment to your podcast as well. I think you guys put up great content week in, week out, and I know how hard it is for a platform to grow, but I'm definitely sure that you guys are going places. So I see a very bright future for this podcast and the website. So keep it up, guys.
Thank you again. It means a lot coming from someone who's been supporting Chelsea for the last, I think, 13 years, was it you mentioned?
18th year supporting Chelsea, right?
Yes, so you're giving Amart some competition. You're giving him a run for his money. But yeah, let me just introduce our co-host. As always, Amart is joined with us tonight, but sadly Alex couldn't make it, and I think Amart, he's probably not here because he's just sore about the fact that I'm in the lead in our own internal league at the moment, and he's not going to be able to catch up, is he?
No, I'm just saying that that league definitely you are leading in the internal league, but I think he had some things to do this week, so he asked permission, and then so we have to.
Yeah,
those things are more important. So yeah.
Yep, I agree. So yeah, let's get right into the podcast, and so the talking points for tonight. Tonight we've got a lot to cover, starting with the Chelsea and Everton game as we won our 11th game in a row in all competitions, and we created a bigger gap in the top four race and are almost closing in on cementing a place in the top four. Kai Havertz starting as a false nine and playing and probably having one of his best performances at Chelsea so far this season, as well as always, a Chelsea game, and it can't end without controversy. As Chelsea were disallowed a goal, Kai Havertz was a handball by VAR, and then seventh in a clean sheet in a row as Mendy was mostly untroubled throughout the game against Everton. And lastly, Werner seemed to have missed his chances as Chelsea fans debate who is the number one striker at Chelsea after Tammy Abraham, who was left out of multiple squads, and with talks of Erling Haaland coming into Chelsea in the summer. So we'll be talking a bit about that again. And towards the end of the podcast, we'll be previewing the Leeds game, as always, giving you our predicted lineup as well as our talking points in that game, as well as some other things. And then at the end of the podcast, we want to talk about racism on social media, as a lot of players and content creators have been facing this issue since a long time, and it's time we address this, and we talk about this on our podcast as well. So make sure to subscribe and leave a like rating. And yeah, let's dive straight into it. Akash, let's start with you. Chelsea, Everton, 11th win. I think. Do you have any complaints from Thomas Tuchel, or are you on the same train as him? You're sure that we're going to get top four now?
Oh, trust me, when I'm actually, guys, I think we'll finish second. That's how convinced of Tuchel I am right now. Because if you look at the last few weeks under Lampard, right, so as you guys probably know, I was like one of his biggest supporters. But if you look at defensive structure during the last few weeks, we lagged majorly. But we're barely conceding any shots now on target. As in, not even on target, we're barely conceding shots at all. So whatever structure he's put in place is working to the T. And, great times to be a Chelsea fan right now. I know he's on an 18-month contract and there's like an immediate demand on him to get results, but he hasn't put a foot wrong till now. It's been great.
Yeah, I think no one can complain with any of the performances that Chelsea and Tuchel have put out so far. Amart, your thoughts on the game? Just a quick thoughts on the game before we dive into the details and talk about player-specific details.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Akash, what Akash said, because um, with the Tuchel system, usually we are not seeing the best football on show because we are very, very good in defense. Like Akash highlighted, we are very, very good in defense. The midfield also has improved over the time that he has been on. In the beginning, it wasn't like that, but it has improved very well. But I think the work lies in the attack. And if the attack is like they start putting away chances that they get, I mean, will be unstoppable. So, like he said, we've not been no, or like I'm saying rather, we've not been the best in terms of like what if you're not a fan watching Chelsea. I don't think you probably enjoy our football that much. We get the results, but we don't really play the kind of flashy football, which I enjoy. I enjoy a lot. I enjoy the fact that we don't play that kind of football because I don't see them the need in having possession and not winning the game and all that. But I mean, he's very efficient. Like we've become more efficient than probably under Lampard. We've become very efficient. Like we know we like the players on the pitch know their roles very very well and they execute them very well because that's why certain players are kind of like looking better under him because it's like they understand more now what their role is than probably in the previous and the previous managements where it was probably not communicated well to them or probably they didn't understand what was needed from them. But it looks like now they are working very well and everything is going well. So it was a good game and good results. I'm definitely happy about.
Yeah, I think I agree with both of you guys. I think Chelsea at the moment, we can't sit here and kind of say that we play flashy football and football that that Liverpool kind of played last season, where everything went their way and then they would almost thrash teams, outrun them, counterattacks, corners, any aspect of football you take, and then they were incredible. I think Man City when they was it when they did they were the Centurions. So I think Chelsea at the moment aren't kind of at the same level as them, but again, Tuchel's only been here for 11 games and he's already transformed Chelsea to the way we were playing before Tuchel to now, where forget top four, we're predicting top two, which is incredible. And of course, the aim this season wasn't even to win the Premier League title again; it was just to close the gap and try and create some competition between the title holders and ourselves. And it seems like if we continue this run, and if Man City go on a few bad games, which I think they could do when they play against the top six teams towards the end of the season, it is highly possible for highly likely for Chelsea to be almost at end up 3 to 6 points behind Man City and challenge them for the Premier League next season, hopefully with Tuchel on board. But more about this game. Kai Havertz, a player who's been struggling in the last few games, and he hasn't really, even I think it's been 7 months at Chelsea, and he hasn't really put up something the performances that he was putting up for. I've just kind of gone blank and forgotten his old team.
Leverkusen.
Bayern Leverkusen. So Akash, is it finally nice to see him play as a false nine and perform the way he did, scoring that goal and then the disallowed goal, which we'll get into details later, which was disallowed, of course, because of VAR.
I do agree. As in, when there's an outlay of around 70 million on a player, you're definitely expecting immediate results. But I guess with the pandemic and everything that's gone on, people are still applying the same logic that they would apply to other footballing seasons to this one. And I think that's unfair on the players. That's unfair on everything that they're going through right now. So Kai had injuries, then he had COVID. And, for the position that he's playing in right now and the position that he was playing under Lampard, which is as an advanced state. So it's definitely even a slight drop in fitness is going to affect his output by like a huge amount. So keeping all of those in mind, as in, and with the prolonged period of time that he's been out of the team, it was great to see how well he was doing yesterday. He looked sharp. He was linking up with Callum and our midfield. He was dropping deep. He wasn't playing as a conventional nine, so to say. So he was dropping deep very often. He was getting involved in play, and even the goal. When the ball is coming to you at that pace. Uh, Not a slight on Werner, but I'm guessing if it was Timo in that position, that most probably isn't the goal, right? Because of the form he's been in recently. So very sharp on Kai's part, and it was an amazing performance. It was great to see.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I think Kai Havertz in that position is going to be there's a good possibility that he will be an incredible player in that position. Amart, as Akash mentioned, Kai Havertz has. I think it's very unfortunate this whole season for him, kind of getting injured and then COVID and then I think was it getting injured, COVID and then getting injured again. So he's almost had more time off the pitch than on the pitch, and then the chances that he got to play even under Tuchel and Lampard both he didn't show up to his best, and he ended up being dropped. And I think a lot of Chelsea fans have kind of it's been on the back of their minds where Kai Havertz and Mason Mount both almost play the same position, and I don't think anyone at this stage wants to drop Mason Mount for a single game unless he's of course suspended. Is this role suitable for Kai, and how do you see him bouncing back and performing the way that he did against Everton, against Leeds, against Atletico, against the next few games? Because I know against Atletico Mount's suspended, so 100% Kai Havertz has to start, and he's got to bring up a star game in that game.
Yeah. The thing is, I remember saying in previous episodes that I would love to see him play as a number 9, even though he didn't really play as a number 9, like an out and out traditional number 9, but he played as a false 9. So usually he was in that position a lot, and he was interchanging with Werner sometimes, and even with Hudson-Odoi on other times, because sometimes it was very difficult to see which role the three of them were playing because they were swapping a lot on the pitch. And I think he did very, very well as a false 9. Like the Everton defense couldn't really handle him. They couldn't really pick out who to mark or who to defend against because they were all good. The three of them were all good. I think Havertz and Cho were the better option, and then yeah. But considering like talking about his unfortunate how is it incidents this season, like the COVID and then the injury. Yeah, it's bad, but like I will not even say that he was even that bad under Lampard. I don't think he was. Like people expected a lot more from him. That's why we wanted to be seeing more from him. Like Akash said, if you buy somebody for 70 million, you expect more from him. But with under Lampard, I don't really think he was that bad. He was okay, but the thing was, in the latter part of Lampard's tenure, he was under pressure more, so he couldn't really afford to take chances with Havertz and players who weren't really performing at the level that would like keep his like help him keep his job. He needed players like you're saying, like Mount and other players who were in form to be playing better. That's why he was often sidelined and stuff like that because he wasn't given that kind of performance where we can actually win games with. He was okay, but like the goals weren't coming, the wins weren't coming. So like to be in Lampard's shoes, you'd rather go with somebody who can guarantee him that than somebody who can't. But with the new system, is working very very well, and I think like unlike Werner, who has had multiple of chances and hasn't really uh, um, turned up yet. Even though we all know definitely he'll turn up yet because I absolutely love the guy's mentality. So he will definitely turn up. But um, with Havertz, he hasn't really had that many opportunities. So it's good to see him have the opportunities, and it's good to see him do very well as well. So yeah, against Atletico Madrid, I would definitely expect him to start, and I definitely expect him to do well, provided the fact that he plays as a false 9 again. If he plays as a false 9 again, it would be very, very dangerous. It would be very, very, very good for us because I think when we played Atletico Madrid the first time, the issue we had mainly was in attack. We didn't really create that many chances, but we were very good in defense and very solid in the midfield as well. But I think if we have Havertz in the game the next time, even though Mount has been fantastic this season. I'm a very big Mount fan, and Mount has been fantastic this season. But I feel like Havertz playing as a false nine can bring more to the attack, in that sense, because Mount does way more than just attack. Mount's defense is in the midfield. He helps in defense. He helps in attack. But with the way Havertz has been placed on the pitch now, the position that he's playing now, he might help us more in getting goals against Atletico Madrid.
Havertz was false nine in the Liverpool match, right? As in the second match of the season, which we lost with Christensen getting sent off. I actually thought he had a pretty good half. As in the first half, we more than held our own, and Havertz was as in part of most of everything good that we did. And it's good to see that now he's returned to the same position, and he's putting up. He put up a very good performance, and long may it continue.
Yeah, and I think even in that game, if it wasn't for certain things that happened, like the Christensen red card and stuff like that, we could have come out with a win or a draw because we were fantastic on that day. We weren't that bad that day, so yeah, I agree with you. That day he did very well as well in that position.
I want to come back and to the point that you made, Amart, and you said he wasn't necessarily bad against Lampard. And don't get me wrong, I don't mean to say that he was bad in any way, form, but it wasn't. I think the right words here would be to say that the Kai Havertz we saw under Lampard, or before the Everton game, we saw Kai Havertz. He wasn't the Kai Havertz that played for Leverkusen, the Kai Havertz that Chelsea signed, and I know we've mentioned this kind of before, that it was various variables that resulted to that, with injuries, with COVID, and the schedule, and of course change of systems, change of managers. So overall, I'd like to kind of just sum it all up and say Kai Havertz has the potential to become one of the best midfielders for Chelsea. I think Mason Mount and Kai Havertz, if these both are regular starters for Chelsea, then I don't think any opposition can stop them. We saw what happened against Everton. We were creating a lot of chances with these both in their position. But the one issue at the moment Chelsea's kind of facing is their finishing. And at the moment, yes, we've got three strikers: Olivier Giroud, Tammy Abraham, and Timo Werner. But Timo Werner does not seem to have the confidence to finish his chances and convert those chances into goals. I think what is it? Is it 5 goals in this Premier League season? Even though, yes, it is his first season, you can cut some slack there. But essentially, when you get a chance like he got against Everton, you need to score those, Amart. So what are your opinions on Werner, and is it time that we switch back to Tammy or Giroud up top?
Yeah, I mean,
or at least give them the opportunity to start?
Yeah, that was exactly what I was about to say. Like, I wouldn't be opposed to the fact that like to the idea that they'll be getting at least some opportunities to start, because it was a bit how to say, disappointing seeing that Tammy Abraham wasn't on the bench against Liverpool and wasn't on the bench against Everton as well. So it's a bit disappointing because I feel like in situations like this, um, they can act as very, very good competition for Timo, because it feels like Timo keeps. The thing is that I think even though he's not scoring goals, he's doing everything right on the pitch. That's why I think he's still on, and I think that's what gives him an edge over Giroud and Tammy, because his runs sometimes takes like defenders off him and allows other players to also kind of like get a scoring chance or scoring opportunity. So I think that is what his work rate is, what kind of like gives Tuchel that kind of idea to continue playing him. But I wouldn't mind seeing Tammy back in the squad. I wouldn't mind seeing Drew back in the squad, because there were some chances that he should have finished, because there was the first chance that he had where he shrugged off the defender. He did very well in doing that. That's You see, those are the kind of things that we all love to see, and I'm sure that Tuchel is seeing more of, and he likes to see more of, because he pushed the defender or he won the ball fair and square from the defender, but the finishing is the issue. Instead of him to go, because the far post was wide open and he could have plotted it there, but he chose the near post, and the near post is where Pickford was standing. And when he was there, you it's really a 50-50 chance for you to score that kind of opportunity or that kind of goal. But for the far post, because he was standing on the near post, it's open, and there weren't any defenders around you, so you could have scored. But it was a bit frustrating to see that. And then the second chance that he had, he kicked it directly to um, um, Pickford. And I don't know, when you watch certain highlights of him, the thing is that if you watch highlights of him or you watch his previous performances at Leipzig, these chances are chances where he would score easily. Like he would pick the right option every time and then he will score. That is the thing that we are not seeing now. And I don't know whether it's all down to confidence, lack of confidence, or the fact that he's unlucky, or I don't know what it is. But we definitely know he'll come good. But for the moment, his finishing hasn't been the best. But he's doing everything right on the pitch. For me, in my opinion, he's doing everything right on the pitch. But the finishing is just not coming. So yeah, I would definitely love to see Giroud or Tammy come. I think there was even a point in the game where Havertz was supposed to come off, but Tuchel changed his mind and rather, I don't know whether Havertz didn't want to come off or Tuchel rather decided to bring Werner off because he wasn't doing like he didn't like his performance or something. But I mean, he has to sit on the bench in one of the games coming up, either Leeds against Atletico or Atletico Madrid, because he's getting tons and tons of chances, but he's not really finishing them.
Akash, how long are Chelsea fans going to accept Werner missing his chances? Because we can already see a lot of backlash coming from Twitter and on social media, as well as a lot of media journalists asking questions about Werner and his performances. And as Amart said, yes, he does contribute in assists, in getting penalties or creating those chances. But as a role, that Werner, I think the reason Werner was bought was because Chelsea wanted a dead end goal scorer, someone who can score about 20-25 goals a season and turn the ties around. And we've really not seen that from him. So yeah, how would you say Chelsea can tackle this? And again, same question goes to you. Does Tammy start ahead of Werner for the next few games, or do we still start with Werner?
So I'm someone who has followed the Bundesliga, but I haven't watched Werner week in, week out, right? Like when he was at Leipzig. But I think Dan McCarthy in his tweet probably summed it up perfectly. He said that even this is Timo Werner in its entirety, as in he will maybe get 10 to 12 chances a game, but you can't expect him to score each of those. He needs bucket loads of chances to be effective. And in a league where, space in behind is as scarce as the Premier League, uh, I think Timo Werner, as of now, is a luxury that Chelsea can ill afford, right? So maybe most of his missed chances, even when Lampard was here, were in games where the result was already decided. So it didn't make much difference. As in, I can think of the Leeds game as an example where he missed a couple of there were a couple of glaring misses. He shot the ball onto the crossbar from right underneath it, if you guys remember. So and it won't hurt us now, but there will be a point. For instance, let's assume we draw Bayern, right? And it's not like we're going to create 10 to 12 clear cut chances against Bayern. So we'll probably need to take whatever comes our way. So in those sorts of scenarios, I think Timo Werner is a luxury, and someone with a slightly more clinical edge like Tammy or Giroud might make more sense in those situations. Uh, in games such as Liverpool, where there is space in behind, Timo Werner is a wonderful weapon to have because we have Jorginho's range of passing right now. And Kovacic and Jorginho are playing balls in behind. Christensen is doing that on a regular basis now. So Timo's runs are definitely going to stretch the defense. But if we're playing against teams that press the hell out of us, who maintain a very compact shape in behind and maybe don't allow our players to run in behind as often. Giroud definitely makes more sense there. I'm a big Tammy fan as well, but I think there are certain elements of his game which he has to refine a little bit. His back to goal game at times leaves a lot to be desired, which he makes up with his excellent movement, as in he drags defenders out of positions and lets our runners, run in behind. But as of now, I think Jiro is probably our most, well-rounded striker. He has all the attributes you need to maybe create something out of nothing, and I don't see Timo and Tammy doing that as of now.
Yeah, I think I agree with you on that one. I think with Chelsea, we're kind of lucky and we're kind of gifted in the sense of where we've got Giroud, who can be a box-to-box striker, who can stand there and just wait for a cross to come in and head it in towards the goal. Someone like Werner, as Akash said, run behind a defender in games against like Liverpool and I would say Atletico in a sense, depending on if they have a high line or not. Um, and Tammy is just a mixture of both of them, I guess, a bit of both. So we're gifted in the sense of having these talents at our club, but at the end of the day, we're still not able to score those goals or convert those chances, at least in the final third. Because I think no Chelsea player. I was reading this stat off tonight. I think no Chelsea player has scored more than 6 goals this season, and I think Mason Mount's on 5, Werner's on 5. So yes, players have taken responsibility and kind of just shared it between themselves, but you still always want that one striker like we used to have with Drogba, like we used to have with Diego Costa, who you knew when you passed the ball to them, they would fight the defenders and they would do everything in their power to try and get that goal and get it behind the net. But at Chelsea, we don't really have those kind of thing right. We wrote those right now, but let's move into some other aspect of of the Chelsea team. The defense, 7th clean sheet in a row. Akash Christensen, who was written off by many fans as well as myself, and I think most of us fans, he's made an incredible comeback, and now the debate has changed from who should we sign as our centre back to whether we need to start Silva or Christensen. So does this really end the debate on who we need to sign as a centre back, and is he a solid replacement at that position in a back three?
I've been a Christensen fan for as I can remember, man. Even my closest friends are like, he is not Chelsea standard. I have no clue what you see in him, but I've been like a fan since he was in Gladbach. I think he was player of the year there, even over Granit Xhaka. And Xhaka had like a blinder of a season when Christensen was there. And even in 2017-18 under Conte, people remember the Messi game, right? So Aspi makes a mistake, Christensen makes a mistake, and the ball goes in. And since then, people say that Christensen hasn't been the same.
And what about what about your opinions on Thiago Silva and Christensen both playing at a central position and us having to choose one of them, or do we try and maybe put Silva because of his experience to put him at right or left centre back because we feel like he might be a better option than Christensen, or do we just make a straight swap?
Just like I was saying, so I think Christensen has always had the attributes to be world class, right? So he is a class reader of the game. He's very very good on the ball. I think in Chelsea right now, Bar Silva, he's the best defender that we have on the ball, so to say. And I definitely think that he is most comfortable in the middle of the three, and so is Silva. Silva is 37, and he probably doesn't have the pace to cover spaces out wide like maybe Rudiger and Azpilicueta are doing right now. And Christensen, for all his attributes, is not the fastest. So I think the two of those competing for that middle central centre back role, so to say, is how I see things going forward. And Christensen has probably the best person to learn from in Thiago Silva. And I see the LCB position, being between Rudiger and Zuma. Both of them are doing a good job. Rudiger is definitely first choice, and Zuma's doing a great job whenever he comes in. The RCB position right now, we don't have much cover. We see Azpilicueta playing, week in, week out. But I still think Reece can do a pretty good job if needed there. So, defense right now, at least till the end of the season, looks sorted. Within this structure that Tuchel has put in place, we look sorted. at least till the season ends. But I'm curious to as to what his thoughts are once the market becomes open.
Amart, what are your thoughts on this? In our seventh clean sheet in a row.
Yeah, I mean it's good. It's fantastic. Like um, the defense have been very 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 good. Under Tuchel, and he's brought out the best in players who were kind of like um, just this like abandoned or forgotten about in in the Chelsea defense, and he's done very well. I mean, we've seen the best of Christensen. I think Christensen is playing um, some of his best games in his Chelsea career under Tuchel, and it's very nice to see. So far, he's pocketing so many defenders. Like Alex said in the previous episode, like he doesn't need to. His pockets are so full. He needs to buy a storage unit and put them inside now because he did very very well. Like Richarlison and Calvert Lewin didn't really have a good game at all up top. I think Calvert Lewin did a little better than Richarlison, but I think that backline, the defensive trio, did very, very well. Zuma stopping a lot of aerial threats that were coming through. Likewise, Christensen, and then but Aspie is kind of like an underdog in that kind of like not even an underdog, like more of an unsung hero because yeah, Rudiger and Christensen have been doing very well, and Zuma came in and did very well, but Aspie has been so consistent under Tuchel when he came in. He has not put a foot wrong. And I think the game against Everton was his 411th appearance for Chelsea in all competitions. And that puts him in number 10 now. So in our top 10 players with the most appearances, now he's number 10. So that's very, very good from him. And he's been so consistent. Like the interview that Tuchel had after the game, like he was just praising the guy, and that's the kind of guy Aspi is. Like that's the reason why he's captain. Like he's always ready to perform for whoever it is. Like whatever the system is, wherever you put him on the pitch, he would do his best. And even sometimes, like um, sometimes we ask he's because of his age. Sometimes managers ask a little bit much from him if they require him to go forward sometimes, but he even still gives us good results even in those kind of performances. So good performances in those kind of systems. But he's been good. He's been good. I just wanted to praise him a little bit, but I mean Christensen and yeah, because I feel like
No, he deserves it. No, he deserves
yeah,
it.
I just feel like a lot of people aren't really yeah, a lot of people aren't really highlighting his performances by like, even though Christensen and Rudiger have been very, very, very good, but a lot of people leave Aspi out because we've kind of expected it from him now. It's like N'Golo Kante. If N'Golo Kante has a good game, it's like we've seen it so many times, so like it's nothing new, but it still deserves praise, just like Aspi. So yeah, the defense has been good. I just hope it continues because
You guys do notice though, right? As in most of our attacks, as in whenever we play it out from the back, Christensen always looks to pass it to SP. His quality of pass and how good he is with the ball under pressure is like one of his most underrated attributes. And he's been doing it for years, right? Ever since he's been at Chelsea. So he's been such a neat passer, so good on the ball, and maybe the best one-on-one defender in the Premier League still. At least I feel the same. Maybe I'm biased. I'm a huge Aspilicueta fan, but I'm flying that flag alone if I have to. He is class, man. He's a
No,
gift for this team.
Akash, I'll have to jump on that as well.
Cool, cool, bro.
I'll jump on as well.
Three handles for the flag, then. Go for it.
yeah. No, I'll fly that flag with you, Akash.
No, I'm sure there's many out there who would hold that flag, and I think with Azpilicueta, it's not just about his performances; it's about his character in the team. You know, I've never seen Azpi as someone who's complained about anything. I can't remember the last time he must have gone on a press conference and he said, "I don't like this," or he's maybe even so far as to say something bad about any player, even if they've had a bad performance. And that is something that a captain, it's a captain's quality. And I think with Aspi, you put him in a back four, back five, back three, whatever. Put him at central. I feel like if you put him at a striker role, he still won't complain, and he'll try and give his best, and he'll come off the pitch, and he'll say, "Yeah, I enjoyed the game," even though he might have he might have the worst game of his life, and that's just Azpilicueta for you, and at the start of the season, let's be honest, when we were playing with a back four, it kind of just seemed like he was going to be used for those Carabao Cup, FA Cup games, and with Reece James being our main right back, and he's kind of just gotten this place at right back, which was his place under Conte in 2016 as well. He's been incredible, and he doesn't get a lot of credit for it, as both of you said. Yeah, I think praise where it's due, and Aspie's got to be one of those guys who's made sure that the 7 clean sheets, have been there. And I want to touch back on the character. We always see, and I think Amart, we've talked about this on the podcast before, how vocal Thiago Silva is on the pitch with players and trying to make sure they're on the same line, they're doing the right thing, they're defending well, he's talking with his players, and Aspie's kind of just concentrates on his own game. At the same time, he just makes sure everyone around him knows what he's doing himself. So I think there's no doubt in saying Aspie's got to be credited and given credit where it's due. Another defender who's been kind of left on the sidelines, with Rudiger coming back into the team and Christensen as well. Kurt Zuma, who was brought back in, and what we were hearing was because this was to deal with the threats caused by Richarlison and Dominic Calvert-Lewin and their aerial threats. So I think we all know how good Zuma is in the air. Akash and with Zuma and as well being in that lineup, do you see anyone going past this Chelsea defense? I mean, I think Minamino has been the only player so far to even score a goal.
We had to. I think Rudy scored an own goal against us just to sort of mess up the stats rates.
Yeah,
I think Minamino felt left out, and he was like, "I can't leave this guy alone."
I think he was just making sure that no one suspected what Tuchel was doing. He just
exactly.
The records look too clean.
Yeah, too good to be true. So maybe Rudy just messed it up a little bit. So in Rudiger, it's a lot of mixed emotions when it comes to Rudiger. With everything that was said and done post the Frank sanking, it's a little hard to warm to him right now. But I can't fault him for his performances, man. He has been amazing in that left centre back role. As in, he's always been one of the best pure tacklers I've seen in the game. And in the structure with Alonso and Chilwell giving him cover, he has been amazing. He's helped us progress the ball as well. And even Zuma, when he came in last week, as in, I think one attribute where Rudiger is definitely better than Zuma is his passing forward. Rudiger has a much better, spread of play, much better range of pass than Zuma, and I'm guessing that is probably why Tuchel is starting Rudiger more often than Zuma is. But he's a very able deputy, and I'm sure he has a huge part to play as the season goes on. I think that you remember the run against Ajax, right? So
yeah,
Zuma became Hazard.
The one that still gets edited into Messi scoring a top corner goal.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think that that one run has given Zuma sort of a false image. So he's always struggled with his feet a little bit. Always struggled with playing it out from the back. But as far as pace in recovery and pure tackling goes, he's as good as it gets. So I'm just hoping that he's still pretty young. He has a lot of football left in him. I'm just hoping that he improves on these attributes, and he definitely has a long career at Chelsea in front of him.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. I think no complaints from Zuma. He was brilliant under Lampard in a back four, and now seeing him in a back three with Tuchel is also incredible to see. And I'm sure, yes, as you mentioned, he'll have a long season with Chelsea, and he's got a bright future. And I see him staying at Chelsea, of course, and probably even becoming first choice by next season. If Aspie does decide to step down or slow down, which it almost seems like it's never going to happen. Every year he just ages, and he just becomes better than what he was last year. Let's get into let's get into the next point that I've written down here. So VAR controversy. I think with Chelsea, it's just a running theme now. It happened against Man United, where was it the controversy about Callum Hudson-Odoi doing a handball, or was it one or the other? And then with Liverpool, the offside goal, and now with Kai Havertz, the handball on a goal. Amart, was it really a fair decision?
Nah,
Because
I
I
don't think
didn't see it,
I,
so
I don't think it was. I don't think it was at all, because from some angles you would think it hit his arm, but from other angles you can clearly see that it hit his upper sleeve, where they've made very clear in other analysis and other stuff that if it hits upper sleeve, the upper sleeve, it's not really handball, but when it goes down, getting to the arm area, that's where it becomes a handball. But this wasn't really handball. It hit his kind of like his shoulder, but I don't know. The VAR, they use the same thing to deny um Werner a goal in the last game, and then they use the same thing again in the opposite direction for Havertz. I don't really understand what they are doing there at VAR right now. It's just getting frustrating, but there's nothing we can do about it right now, and it seems like it's just there to stay. It's they want to kind of make football so perfect, but football can't be perfect. Like, the decisions can't be perfect, so they want to get every little thing right, every little thing correct, but in the pursuit of kind of like perfection, they get a lot of things wrong. So it's frustrating. And the way he took the things that the thing I'll take away from that is that his finishing was absolutely fantastic. The way he took the ball down and he scored that goal was fantastic. On a different day, probably would have been get we would have gotten the goal instead of this. But I think that rule has to it has it you see, VAR is not the issue. Like, the system itself isn't the issue, but the people who are sitting behind the monitors, the people who are making the decisions, they are the same referees who have been subpar for years, and now they've been moved from the pitch to go and sit behind the TV, and they are still making the same bad decisions that they were making on the pitch. It's not really any different. So I don't know whether they will need a new set of referees, train them very very well, not the old referee. Don't take the old referees and put them there. Get new set of referees, train them so that they will really understand the laws or the rules behind the VAR system, and then use them. Don't put this old referees there, because they're going to bring the same
Amart,
mistake.
do you want to try going there? Do you want to step on the field?
I mean, if they give me the opportunity, I will. I will, but probably my bias will give. I'll be given United offside so many times. So and Spurs.
Amart will be Howard Webb of Chelsea.
Sorry, Akash, I think we didn't hear you quite.
Yeah, Amart will be Howard Webb, but the Chelsea version.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I'll
Six
be
penalty
given.
to lose.
I'll be given so many situations against teams like Spurs, Arsenal, United. So I don't think I deserve that job.
Get United relegated, bro. They've been here too long.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
um, Akash, I'm not sure if you follow a lot of cricket or not.
I used to, bro. I used to till Sachin retired, but after that, there was like no motivation to watch anymore. So I've quit.
Yeah, I understand. So in cricket, I think Sachin was there during DRS, and I'm going a bit off topic, so Amart, you might have to. This might be a bit of a struggle for you, but in cricket, we basically when the team or when the umpire decides to review something, the 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 referee or the umpire who is sitting outside of the pitch and is looking at the screens, as would someone in the VAR van would be doing. Um, the audio between the audio between the umpires and the referees, and as well as the cameramen and everyone in the studio, is audible to both the viewers on the television as well as on the pitch. This is something that is being proposed in the Premier League, or at least in the competitions that are run in England. Is something that's going to really help clarify these decisions and help the viewers understand what's the process behind a decision when a decision is given.
Yeah.
We've been complaining about bad referees for at least the past 20 years and maybe even longer, as in fans from an older generation. I think the Australian
I was
league right
feeling
now.
old today. Sorry, Akash, to jump in, but I was feeling old today because one of my friends who's 2 years younger than me was teasing me about it, and now I've suddenly just felt like I know nothing about football because of you guys mentioning
Yeah.
the
How
last
old are you,
15
man?
or odd years.
You're you're
Sorry?
in, you're in college now, right? So
Yeah, so I'm 19.
nice. I feel like a dinosaur right now. So I
So
think the
I think
I'm
I
right
Australian
think
there
league.
with you.
yours
I'm
and
right there with you.
I think your age and Amar's age is almost similar. So I think your perspectives, and I'm noticing this, are almost the same. The way you speak about VAR and how the history with Premier League officials. Whereas I come from, some like, yes, I did watch football before VAR, of course, but um, even in other sports, we kind of didn't, I've grown up with DRS and then now VAR. So I guess it's a little bit different for you guys as compared to me. Don't get me wrong, I do know what football was like before these controversial decisions were made. I mean, the ghost goal, the Barcelona game, still
Don't
remember
remind me,
those.
bro.
But yeah, sorry, go on,
I
Akash.
don't need to think of the Barca game at 3 a.m. Bro. I'll lose sleep over it for sure. So
Yeah.
it's
I
sort of
mean,
exhaustion,
Sorry
right?
about
So
that.
bad refereeing has always been a part of the game, but now they have the tools to fix it, but they're still bad. So what can you say to that?
yeah,
I
exactly.
think the conversations between the referees. I think they're already audible to the crowd in the Australian league. If I'm not wrong, I think it's being trialed there, and it'll probably have to be trialed here and see if it makes any difference at all. I don't see it happening because mediocrity in refereeing has been a part of football for as long as I can remember, and it will probably be by the time my kids and their kids watch the game. So I don't have any hopes, bro. But it always pays to be optimistic.
Yeah, just to add to it, I watch a lot of NBA, and in NBA, the referees aren't necessarily mic'd up, but when they are deliberating an issue, we often hear it like the people in the arena hear it, and the people who are watching at home also hear it because sometimes the microphone or the person having the camera moves closer to them, so you hear them, you hear the thought process, you hear the deliberation, and even in that, because I know American sports already had video replays and all that. They had a long time ago, and they had it in the NBA as well. It's definitely got rid of certain things. It definitely got certain things correct, but still there were still bad calls. Like no matter how hard the EPL pushes to get everything perfect, there will still be bad calls. You can still mic the referees, and they will still make bad decisions because they, even if they make it, oh, there are two sides to it. If you mic them up, they will be more accountable now. Like there'll be more pressure on them because they know that a lot of people will now hear their thought process, so they have to be um, um, accurate with it. Like the same thing happened in the NBA as well. But NBA they are not mic'd, but we can still hear it from time to time. But the other side too is that even if they get a bad call, there's nothing you can do about it. The players can't go on the pitch and tell them that you made a bad call, and it won't change anything. The fans can't do anything about it. We just hear it, but we can't make anything about it. We just make criticisms and write things on Twitter, but we just can't do anything to influence it. So whether we hear them or not, there will still be bad calls. That's the thing. So they should allow these sort of imperfections, the kind of imperfections to dwell in it, because those things makes football great. Like even though we some of them have gone on the stream, like the Barca game that you mentioned, one of the worst Chelsea games I've witnessed or I've experienced, because that day was that's a whole different story, because that day was a whole different thing for me. And then those games are extreme. So those games, VAR might have helped in those games. But what if VAR didn't even help in those games? What if VAR was there and VAR didn't even call those things? There's still nothing we can do about it, and those imperfections will still be there. So they are striving to gain perfection, but they're still making so many mistakes, and the thing is, like I've said it in previous games, like if it was consistent, like they should have some level of consistency. They shouldn't call something um against a team in like, let's say, use the same rule and call a decision against a team in a different game, and then they use the same rule and call a decision for a team in a different game. That's where the biases come in. That's where the inconsistencies come in. And that's what people are angry with. They are not angry with the decisions themselves, but they are angry with the fact that we've seen this given before in other games. So why isn't it given here? And that's where I'll come back to the thing that they need to train people to understand the VAR rules well, and not use the old referees who are using their own um, um, experience as well, to, in addition to the rules, to be given those decisions. So yeah, I think that's the thing. If they can fix that and make these rules applicable to everybody, like they make these rules same for everybody, it hits this part of the arm, I won't give it. Whether you are playing against, whether it's for Manchester United or it's for Liverpool or whatever it is, you should be the same on every level. And I think that's where fans might be might warm up to it more. But right now, the inconsistency is what is creating a lot of uh, arguments.
Yeah, I think overall, I feel like even if we did introduce all these changes and all these measures, and we talk about the inconsistencies, and they'll always be there. They're there in every sport, in my opinion. I think even with NBA, with cricket, with any sport I've watched where they use video replays, there is a sort of inconsistency. And yes, the only thing that we can do is minimize it. In the Premier League, it just seems to be going on and on and on, and it just has become a reoccurring theme, which is an issue that we're facing at the moment. And I guess introducing, as I said, if we introduce the audio and if we can hear into the referees and if they're mic'd up, yes, it'll just help, but it won't solve the issue. Nothing will solve the issue, and that's just how the system is. One referee might see it one way, the other one might see it in a different way, and there's nothing you can do about it, because at the end of the day, it depends on the referee's judgment, and then they're the one who make the final decision. There's no rule book that says that. Yes, there are rules. Like, for example, let's take an offside. VAR would rule it out even if a centimeter of the shirt is offside. A normal referee would ignore it. Maybe someone, the linesman might not even notice it. And it's things like those which are inconsistent because maybe a referee would have given it. So at the end of the day, this is a debate that could go on for days and days, but that would be it for this one. I think that covers up most of the review for Chelsea and Everton. And yeah, I think anything you guys want to add on before we move
No,
on
I
to
think that's
Leeds?
it. Oh, Akash, do you have anything to add?
I'm good, man. It was just a great match, and yeah, hoping for more of the same going forward.
Yeah.
Okay, let's head into Everton. But before that, guys, if you're still listening, make sure to subscribe, leave a like rating, comment below what you thought of the Everton game and how we played and how we can improve for the games ahead. So let's move into Leeds, who have been in a bad run of form, only winning one game in their last 5 Premier League matches, struggling to beat most of the teams actually. And Leeds, who started off the season really well. I mean, it almost seemed like they were going to be top 4 the way they were playing. Akash, is this an easy game for Chelsea? Is this where we might see a few changes happen in the starting lineup, or is this one of those important games where every Premier League now is just an important game for Chelsea?
No easy games in the Prem at all, bro. It's 11 finals that we have till the end of the season, and Leeds is going to be just as important. So with Leeds, you never know what you get, right? So they'll either be almost prime Barcelona, or they'll be as bad can get. So you never know which Leeds is going to turn up, but Chelsea definitely needs to be on it. Uh, they have players with a lot of quality on the ball in Harrison, Dallas, Bamford, and also Rafinha especially. I think he's probably the one player that we're going to have to look out for the most. He has a wonderful range of pass. He has amazing feet, and he buys into the Bielsa philosophy completely. So Chelsea definitely need to be at the top of their game, and you know, with everything said and done, they should still be. Uh, you know, we should 100% be going into it with the mentality that we 100% need to win here.
Amart, your thoughts on the Leeds game and its importance?
Yeah, definitely important. Like I totally agree with Akash. Every game till the end of the season now is basically a Champions League final for us. So we have to play it and win because the way the season has been this time around, it's very like different from other seasons because you lose a game and you find yourself seventh at the end of the week, or you win a game, you find yourself fourth or third at the end of the week. So you really can't afford to lose any game. We have to win this game as well, and we have to continue the unbeaten run. It's very good. It's been very good on Tuchel's CV, but it will be better for Chelsea in like overall. So yeah, we just have to go there. And they've been inconsistent in recent times. Like you said in the beginning, they were flying. I always saw them as kind of like a Norwich um, 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 copy or a replica because of the way they were playing in the beginning, and all of a sudden, and Bielsa is a good coach. Don't get me wrong, but like the momentum just went off. Like it wasn't even just them. Like for other teams as well, the momentum just went. But like form came back. But with them, it's like it's inconsistent. They lose, they win, they lose, they win. So we just have to win. That's all. We just have to get at 3 points and secure our top four position.
Yeah, I agree with both of you. I think I wouldn't say it's a Champions League final, but I'd say it's pretty important. I think every game, it's not that it's important. It's just that if we win, we just make it easier for ourselves towards the end of the season, where we might be in a good position in the FA Cup, and if we do get out of the round of 16, we might be in a good position in the Champions League. So we might want to try and um, concentrate on those type of games rather than focusing on, as we did last season, where we secured top four in the last day of the Premier League. So yeah, it would be great to again increase that gap between teams. I think it's 2 points at the moment, but then West Ham and Everton both have a game in hand. So I think if West Ham win that game in hand, they go above us. And I think we've played our two games against Man United and Leicester. No, we're playing Leicester at the end of the season, so there is a chance of us getting higher than that, and then we play, West Brom, Crystal Palace, and Brighton, who are in the bottom part of the Premier League table. So those are games that we must win. There's no other option in those. But yeah, let's move straight into the lineups. I think all of us would pick Mendy in goal with the back three of maybe starting Silva alongside Christensen and Azpilicueta.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know whether Rudiger will come back, or I think Thiago Silva might start because it looks like he was getting ready to come on. He was on the bench against Everton, was getting ready to come on when Zuma had that injury. Luckily, it wasn't, because it looked bad. I was very, very worried for Zuma. It looked bad, but luckily, it wasn't really that bad, and he recovered from it. So probably we might see him back. We might see him. I don't know whether probably Christensen might be. This is a difficult one because Christensen has been very, very good. So don't know whether you rest Christensen for Atletico Madrid or you play Christensen and use Thiago Silva for Atletico Madrid. It's a tough one, but for this particular game, I'll prefer us maintaining Christensen, and then Rudiger coming back in, and then Aspi at the back. But definitely Mendy and goal.
Akash, what about you? The same back three, or would you like to have Rudiger in there?
Now I'd stick with the same back three and Silva to come in versus Atleti.
Oh, so you wouldn't give Silva a few minutes before Atletico just to get him warmed up for game time?
No, but I think he is, such a good player. He doesn't need to,
Yeah,
work himself up to match fitness. So I'd still stick with Christensen because he's been doing great, and Rudiger, I'll probably keep him fresh for that Atleti game. So he is going to be crucial to keeping Felix and Saul and Suarez quiet versus Atleti. So I'd keep Rudy fresh for the next match.
Okay. Wing backs. This is a bit of a debate in there where Chilwell and Alonso. I might just pick a name: Alonso or Chilwell.
Because I want Chilwell to play against Atletico Madrid. I'll probably pick Alonso for this one, and then right wing back. I'll go with Reece James.
Okay. Akash, what about you?
I am picking Chilwell for both, this match and the one against Atleti. So a lot of pace in the Leeds team, and I think Chilwell probably gives Rudiger a lot more cover and offers. He's still competent in attack. He's not as good as Alonso is in the left wing back position, but he's not half bad either. So I'd stick with Chilwell, and right wing back I'd go with Reece.
I think I'll go with Alonso and Reece James. I think, in my opinion, Alonso has been great. He does have his on and off days, but I feel like he could play well against Leeds, and then we can start off Chilwell against Atletico. But I mean, realistically, I won't be surprised to see Chilwell. And yeah, I think both of those guys are capable enough, hopefully, for a good performance against Leeds. Midfield, I'll start with this one. I'm going to go with Jorginho and actually, who's suspended? Is it Kovacic who's suspended, or is it Jorginho who's suspended?
Jorginho.
So Jorginho. Okay, so I would go with Jorginho and Kovacic. Give Kante the rest because I'll have Kante and Kovacic start against Atletico. Akash, what about you?
Same for me. You have to keep Kante fresh.
Amart?
Yeah, I think I also go with the similar thing, just to rest Kante, and then also I think we didn't really highlight. Like you guys know, like on the podcast, and anybody who hasn't listened, I've not really been the best of. I've not been a Jorginho fan in general because in previous systems I really find it difficult to see what he offers. But in this kind of system, playing next to somebody, or playing next to a Kante or playing next to a Kovacic, like he does very very well, and I think he did very well against Everton, a team that often plays on a counter, just like Leeds as well, who also be playing on a counter. So I think he might fit well with Kovacic against Everton. But yeah, definitely rest Kante for the Atletico game.
Yep. Up top, then we're going to. No, sorry, not up top. Right behind whoever the striker is, are we going with Mount and Kai Havertz both? Because Mount is suspended and Kai Havertz deserves a start after that performance, Amart?
Yeah, see, with Havertz and Mount in this system, it often seems like either or. You pick either Mount or pick either Havertz or pick. I think that's something that Lampard was trying to go against. He wanted to play with both of them because I feel like playing with both of them is really, really fantastic. But the other bad side is that if you play both of them, it means Pulisic is left out. It means Ziyech is left out, and that's where the issue comes in. But I think with this game, I'll go with the Ziyech. I'll go with Ziyech and Mount because Mount wouldn't be able to play against Atletico Madrid. So I'll go with Ziyech and Mount, and then probably Werner. No, this time I'll go with either Tammy or Giroud right in front of them. I'll probably say Werner for Atletico Madrid because I think even though Werner doesn't score, he's very good in taking defenders off certain other players. He allows defenders often concentrate on him. Then they leave other players like Mount and Havertz and Ziyech to do what they to be a little bit free or to get in on goal. So for me, I would prefer to play Werner against Atletico Madrid and then use either Giroud or Tammy up top. I'll go with Giroud and then Mount and Ziyech right behind him.
Sorry. Yeah. Yeah. Akash, what about you?
I'd probably go with Mount, Ziyech, and Werner. So there is going to be lots of space in behind versus Leeds. With how they attack, all their fullbacks bomb forward, their midfield runners bomb forward. So there's going to be tons of space in behind. And Ziyech with his range of pass is going to find Werner for fun. against Leeds. So I probably think Ziyech and Werner are gonna start, and Mount is anyway suspended for Atleti, so I don't see any harm in starting him versus Leeds.
Yeah, hopefully just not a long-term injury, if anything. Yeah, I think that covers up most of the preview for Leeds. Not much to talk about other than the fact that it's a very important game for Chelsea, a must-win game to basically just secure top four as soon as possible. A win would put us equal points with Leicester, depending on how their result pans out to be. I think they are playing, if I'm not wrong, they're playing Sheffield United, so an easier team than us, I would say. A lot easier than us, actually, but it is what it is. Hopefully, Chelsea can bring home another win. Yeah, I think that covers up most of the review for both of the games. And just to end this podcast, we want to talk a little bit about racism and the abuse that has been happening both in Chelsea players as well as Chelsea content creators on social media, not just on Twitter. I've been seeing this on Instagram as well. And I want to begin this by kind of saying, guys, we as content creators and we're lucky enough to have this kind of platform to say something, and yes, maybe our platform at the moment is not big enough to reach millions and millions of people out there, but we do want to make an impact. And at any given cost, abuse, racism is not accepted. It's not accepted in our daily life, in social media, whether it's to a person you like, you dislike, or whether it's a player or a fan or a content creator. I think there's been many occasions, I don't want to mention any names, where there are content creators who have been abused and solely because they put out their own opinion. It takes a lot of courage to sit down and talk about Chelsea and post it on social media, because people will always criticize you for what you choose and what you say online. So you've got to be very careful with it. Akash, respectfully, you've got the largest following out of all three of us. Any advice for people who get abused on a daily basis and people who do this?
So I probably get called, dirty Indian, or I get told to stick to cricket at least, oh,
I think it's
on
common
a
for
daily
us now.
basis. Yeah, on a daily basis. So initially, it used to get to me, the first time it happened. I'm still very new to Twitter, so I was on the platform. I just created an account, but I've been active only since the end of last season, maybe. And just seeing how easily, racism gets dismissed on Twitter was a little disconcerting. But there's only so much we can do. We can report, but how many people realistically do you think we can take down? So it's up to the tech companies to sort of think of some mechanism whereby if you see a certain IP address or a certain user being abusive regularly, then there has to be action taken from the tech companies. You see Reese getting abused, you see death threats going to Xhaka's wife and children, and you see the Peters handball incident, right, recently, where Pepe tapped it onto his arm. And it wasn't even intentional. And there are Arsenal fans, flooding his replies, flooding his comments, and wishing death on his wife and kid. So stuff like this has gotten normalized because the tech companies don't take action. Maybe it doesn't fit into their model. They want more engagement from, even if it is from abusive people. So if we get abused, I would suggest is block the person. Do not give them the pleasure of knowing that they got to you. Do not even engage. Do not reply, and tag people. Get them to report it. Make sure that those people don't get to use these platforms anymore. That is how I say it. And I know Mo and Amart have also been on the receiving end of abuse, and I hope that stops. I hope Twitter becomes a place where we can discuss this sport that we all love and the club that we love safely, without having to worry for our mental health. So I hope that happens soon, bro. It can't come soon enough.
I think for me, it's honestly sometimes really interesting to just kind of see how on a few occasions you just go through your feed and you've got such incredible people on your feed, praising every player, praising every person, having a chat with each other, discussing and everything. And then you've got days where there's abuse, there's racism, and it's unacceptable. I mean, what do you get out of this? And just take players as an example. They do see this. If you search up a Chelsea player, not just a Chelsea player, a footballer on Instagram, on Twitter, if they don't have that specific platform, just kind of think about it, why they don't have it. Kepa had to switch off his replies. Allison was made fun of when his father passed away. There's so many instances, as Akash mentioned as well. It's unacceptable, and as you said, on a high level, companies need to take action, but on our own, we need to try and block them. There are people out there who defend people who throw abuse at them. No, criticism is allowed. You can criticize anyone for their actions, but no abuse. There's no need for abuse at any cost. Amart, you want to add on something to this?
Yeah, I mean, I think even just tonight, I was kind of like interacting with Kamal and a couple others about how toxic Twitter has become and all that. And yeah, I mean, I've been on Twitter for a very long time. I think I've been on Twitter since either 2009 or 10, or I think 2009. And I've seen, I mean, I haven't been like too active. I think from the time where I created my Twitter account, I wasn't too active for like 2 or 3 years. But when I started becoming active and I started tweeting out, I got my fair share of abuse, especially when I talked about Chelsea issues, not just on Twitter. I think on at that time Facebook was pretty big, so on Facebook as well. I mean, there were a lot of things like you're an African expert. There was this kind. I've said it here before. There was this kind of tag that people, especially the English Chelsea fans, they used to call Africans African expert, but we watch from telly and we think we know everything about football. We like they just disregard any opinions that you give, and I haven't seen much of that in recent time, especially towards Africans. I've seen a lot of um, um, hate comments against, especially Indians. I've seen a lot of hate comments against people from USA, even against Africans as well, because some fans think that because they go to the stadium and they are actually living in England, they feel like they are better Chelsea fans than people who are outside Chelsea, and it creates a divide. If you do that, it creates a little divide, because I have so much respect for people who go to the stadium, and those old guys, like the people from the Chelsea fan cast and people around them, like their friends and those people who have been following Chelsea from like in the 50s, 60s coming down. Like it's nice interacting with them and getting stories from them and stuff like that. I respect them a lot. So when I see other people saying that because they've been old Chelsea fans and they've been going to stadiums, so they are more Chelsea. They have a right to Chelsea than us who are not there. It's very very it's very very sad. It's very very bad. And the hate comments, I don't. It's even gotten worse. I think I was telling Kamal that the COVID has also added to it, because the COVID has forced a lot of people to stay at home. And then when you stay at home, what do? You're on your phone all the time, either on your phone or your laptop or wherever it is. So it has rather giving people more time to be abusive. It has rather giving people. That's why this kind of cancel culture and stuff like that is on the rise now, because a lot of people are now at home. A lot of people are reading stuff and believing things that they shouldn't believe, and seeing threads, following threads that they shouldn't follow. There's some big accounts on Twitter that I don't know whether they intentionally do it or they don't intentionally do it, but they intentionally, that they kind of spread negativity amongst Chelsea fans. And when you spread negativity among Chelsea fans, it brings hate, it brings racism, it brings a lot of things that needs to be really looked at and needs to be ended. So I mean, for me, because I've seen less and less of the African comment, because I block a lot of people. When I see those things, I either mute you or I block you. So I've blocked a lot of people, and I see the things I see on my timeline are stuff I want to see. If like I get any hate from somewhere else, I'll just block you and I'll not see anything from you again. So like I agree with Akash. That's one way to solve it, since um the the companies aren't really solving it or making any effort to change that kind of culture. the best we can do now is to just block them and get a much cleaner, positive timeline. It's better for your health. It's better for everybody around you. It's better for your interactions as well.
Yeah, I agree with both of you on that, and I just want to end it on this note. And I want to say, everyone has the right to express their opinions, whether it's Twitter, whether it's Instagram, whether it's TikTok, whatever platform you prefer. And I don't think anyone who wants to express their opinions struggles to do them, and they do know how to voice them. But when it comes to being respectful and considerate about others' opinions, people tend to not do that. And that is when the problem comes. If you have the right to express your opinion, someone else does as well. Yes, you can criticize them, you can say, I don't agree with you, but you do not abuse them for that. I think if you're not able to refraining from abusing people, no matter who they are, you should not be voicing your own opinion. And it's as simple as that. Only voice your opinion if you think you're not gonna abuse other people. It's very simple. And as a community, we've got to come together and we've got to fight this. And hopefully, in the next few months, in the next few years, we'll see changes come in where the community can be better than what it is right now. Yeah, I think kind of deep at the end, but it's something that we've got to do as a as someone who as people who are privileged enough to have a platform to talk about this. And as I mentioned at the start of it, however big it is, it hopefully one day it does make an impact, and hopefully it changes this around. Guys, it's been a great discussion. Akash, thank you for coming on. I know it's almost, I think, if I can do the maths correctly, if it's almost 3:30 in India right now. Yeah, so I appreciate you coming on at 3:30 a.m. and having a chat with us about Chelsea. It's been a pleasure having you on the podcast. It's been great having you on the podcast.
My pleasure to be on it, bro. Thank you for
Yeah, it
having me
has.
on.
It has. It has. I mean, I've been interacting with you for quite some time now on Twitter, and I've absolutely loved it. Like, you are one of the accounts I'm talking about that I respect a lot on Twitter. It's nice interacting with people who are like minded, and even though they are not even like minded, like people who even respect each other's opinions, and it's nice having you on. We hope to have you on again sometime.
Anytime, bro. Anytime before 3:30. If you feel free to, I'll hop right on.
Okay. All right.
Hopefully we'll arrange a better time for everyone. Okay, thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for listening to this podcast. Make sure to leave a like, rating, and subscribe if you're on YouTube. And comment below what you expect from Chelsea and where you expect them to finish at the end of the season. If you're listening in an audio platform, make sure to add it to your playlist or subscribe to the podcast just to make sure that you get notifications when we upload, because we do it almost every game now. As well as that, we're trying to aim to reach 1,000 subscribers before the end of the season, and would appreciate if you would subscribe and show your support by following all of our social media pages. Check out Akash. I'll link his socials in the description below. A great person on Twitter, as I've already mentioned. His threads are amazing. And if you want to check out some of his articles and all of his work, then I'll try and link as many as I can underneath in the description, so make sure to check those out. I guess we'll see you after the Leeds game, and we'll hopefully be discussing a positive result after Leeds, as well as looking forward to qualifying for the round of 8 in the Champions League. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.